the way money is made on Spotify is very interesting. So we talked before about the way money was made in the old times, right? And I say old times, I'm talking about 20 years ago, 15 years ago. CD sales. You go, you ask a factory to print you an object, a CD. Inside of this CD, you have your what is this? Put water in there. Yeah, sorry. I was saying, you buy the service of a factory that creates you a bunch of CDs with your music in it. And then you make money not by selling your songs. You make money by selling the CDs with your songs in it. So you're selling an object. So there was a whole distribution part, etc., etc. So I already explained all this. And this was the business model for years and years and years. CDs, cassettes, vinyls, etc. And in the digital world, everything is about the streaming. So there's no fabrication of an object. People are actually just paying a service like Spotify, $10 a month. In exchange, they can listen to all the music in the world. And the way people are paid is that, let's say there's 1 million people that are paying $10 to Spotify. So there's $10 million. There's a pool, and every artist, depending on, let's say, if you make 30% of the streams, you get 30% of the 10 million. If you make 1% of the whole total of streams, you get 1% of the 10 million. That's the way the financial part is set up now. And Spotify is saying that they want to change the game. And they are saying that Spotify is changing its royalty model to crush streaming fraud and introduce the minimum payment threshold. It's planned to shift $1 billion in payouts towards working artists over the next 5 years. And what they want to change is they want to introduce a threshold minimum of annual streams before a track starts generating royalty in Spotify. And this will demonetize a bunch of tracks that were essentially noise, and a lot of people that are not making that much money. They also want to financially penalize distributors of music, label included, when fraudulent activity is detected on tracks that they have uploaded to Spotify. And they also want to introduce a minimum length of playtime that each non-music noise track must reach in order to generate royalties. So that's interesting. I'm going to put you the link, and I'm going to give you, I'm not going to read the whole thing. I believe that you know how to read, but there's something that is very interesting with the way the streaming services, and the biggest one, which is Spotify, are trying to now change their business model. I don't know if it's in their favor or it's in the favor of the artist. Time will tell. We still have to study their strategy, but I believe that, listen, I made good money from streaming. I don't know if in a different business model I would make more, but a lot of people are advocating for a version of music streaming where, instead of, let's say there's 100 people, right, and everybody has $1, so there's $100, and let's say people have the choice in listening to 100 songs. And let's say they listen to 30 of your songs indiscriminately, 30%, you get just 30% of the money that is there. So you get $30. People are saying, if everybody's paying $10, so let's say you only listen to Kaysha. You listen to 100% Kaysha on Spotify, right? So you pay $10 every month. Your $10 go in the pool. And even if you only listen to Kaysha, I will not get all your $10. I will still get a percentage of the whole percentage of money based on who's listening to what. And this favoritize. I'm tired. I'm losing my English today. Ça favorise probably the biggest artist. Listen, I'm a big artist. I have 1 million people listening to me, more or less, between 800,000 and 1 million. So the question here is, if these 1 million people are listening only to my music this month, and they all pay $10, so that's 10 million. I'm not getting 10 million. Let's say the 1 million people who listen to something going on every day and only listen to something going on, their money is not given directly to me. Instead of me getting 10 million, the 10 million go in a pool, and then after that we see, okay, a lot of money has to go to Drake, and from that money, a part goes to Drake because he's the biggest streamer in the platform. And a lot of people are saying we should do a thing that is different, where, listen, if somebody only listens to my music, I should get all the money they spend, because they use their money to listen to my music, which also sound like the old market. Some people would buy your CD and you would get the money from their sale, and that's it. So you would sell 10,000 CDs, you would get 100,000. That's it. And it was not but such person sells more CDs, so we have to give them a little bit of that money. So I don't know. We have to do a calculation to see why they chose to just do a pool. But to me, the conversation is even more important and more interesting. It's a conversation about opening the doors to everybody. It's the conversation about that we listen. In 2007, I remember when I did my first tweet, when a company called Odeo changed their name to Twitter. And to send a tweet, you had to send a text to a UK number. And I remember being on Twitter, saying, hey, I'm on a flight to Mozambique. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That was cool. And all of a sudden, everybody had a voice. And it was amazing because everybody could talk. Everybody could express themselves. Finally. And at the same time, it was YouTube. Everybody could express themselves. Everybody could upload a video to be seen by the whole world. And then one racist came out of nowhere and said a bunch of Nazi things. And everybody was like, yo! And it was like, well, it's freedom of speech. We can all talk, no? And boom. That's when they start blocking people again and realizing that, there's a reason why not everybody can speak. And you have to find the right balance between letting people speak and not having only Big Brother being able to speak. And it's the same in music. Back in the days, music cost so much money to create that you had A&Rs that work at big record companies, and when a record company chose you and decided to spend money on you, they would do the curation, if I can say, between who they believe deserves a recording contract and a chance to shine, and who doesn't. And a lot of people view it as unfair, But at the same time, it curated, and sometimes they had bad taste, but at least only the ones that were chosen were heard by the public. Everybody else were doing shows, and some people slipped under the crack, but the rest of them, they stay behind the wall. In a world where anybody can upload a track to DistroKid, Believe, CD Baby, XYZ, you now have, as a creator, we now have to compete with 100,000 new songs every day. 100,000 new songs every day. Some great tracks, some okay tracks, some bad tracks, and a lot of noise. And the user, when they get inside of Spotify, they get overwhelmed with choice. There's so much choice because everybody's a singer now or a beat maker, and everybody's trying to make it. And you cannot blame them. It's great that everybody can try, but at the same time, it creates these new issues where you have to share time and revenue with everybody. And you have a ton of scammers, stream farms, people that use bots, etc., etc. Same on YouTube. And this platform, in the beginning, they don't want to take the liberty back. But at a point, they realize that they have to scale back. They have to go back to maybe a vetting system to not let everybody be able to release or talk. But it's too late. You already created all these things where you want to talk live on YouTube. You can be live on YouTube. You can be live on Twitch. You can go on Kick. You can go on Facebook. You can go on Instagram. You can go on TikTok. So if you remove the liberty in one platform, the other one, take your client. And it's the same thing now for the platforms. If Spotify becomes way too complicated to make money, people will go to Deezer or Tidal or Apple Music, or maybe some new hero will appear with a business model that is for the artist. Because there's this idea that everybody should be able to try. And I subscribe to this idea. But at the same time, I see the effects. I've seen the effect to the detriment of industries. And the first to go are the lazy ones. But even us, the workaholics, we see the difference. I should make 100 times the money I make today from my music. If it was not streaming, I would be a multi-millionaire right now. But because it's streaming, you divide the money you make by 10, 20, 30. Because it streams pennies, millions of pennies. So you have to change your whole business model. But you have to see in what is going on, what is going to be the long-term strategy. And we'll see.